I never want to see anyone take their teeth out.
You're a teeth bigot. You're a denture snob.
So.
I just feel like I agree with Hayden. That's a power move, okay?
It's an interesting facet to the character.
That and inviting yourself to dinner, I think, is a very powerful, awkward thing to do.
That's a weird detective move.
Welcome to the Grande Bouffe,
the big feast,
with myself, Cole Smithey, and my co-host, Mike Lacy, and this week with our special guest, Hayden Maxwell.
Hayden Maxwell. We got that right?
Yes.
You've been on another show of mine. You've been on Cat Talk, and I was
Cat Talk the podcast,
and I was just informed that I flipped your name in basically every time I've said it in my head and written it, and I feel great about this. I feel like I've been a really good new friend to you. That all the right foot have been stepped forward.
All the right foots have been stepped on, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. I think you said it best.
In chronological order.
Well, thank you for agreeing to come on this show as well, despite the real shitty name recognition that we're giving you.
It's okay.
Hey, dude, it still gets the Google, you could flip any order.
Right.
They're going to find
There's
you.
only two possible orders. There's
any order works, man.
Yeah.
Well, we had a really good time with you in Cat Talk.
Right.
And you have your own show called Only the Best.
Mm-hmm.
Best of the best?
Only the best.
Only the best.
Only the best.
For Hayden Maxwell.
Can you give us the pitch on what that show's about?
Sure. I've been saying recently it is the greatest minds talking the greatest movies. And it's a little facetious. Get a lot of Brooklyn comedians.
So that's why you brought us Miami Blues, because this is a movie you would never do on your podcast.
Right, because we're going down the Sight and Sound 2012 list.
Right.
So we're doing a lot of foreign films.
I noticed that you had done Pier Paolo Pasolini's Salo, which I'm very curious to listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies.
I really loved it. Yeah,
it's incredible. It's a mind-blowing film. I saw it at the Ken Cinema in San Diego when I was going to San Diego State, and they were passing out barf bags at the box office.
I did feel queasy.
Yeah, it really gets gnarly. The last what is it goes through these cycles. There's like the cycle of something, and then it ends with the circle of shit or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's kind of like what is it?
It's Dante's Inferno.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I recently saw what is it? In the Realm of the Senses.
Oh, that's a great one.
At Metrograph, and that was also got the audience very queasy.
Based on a true story.
Yes.
What is In the Realm of the Senses?
It's basically like this Japanese couple who just can't stop having sex. It's like amorous as almost a horror movie. They just keep going and going and going, and
it's a lot like Our Namesake.
She's the one who's really insatiable.
Mm-hmm.
She draws him into this this realm of bizarre, just obsessive, fetishized.
Yeah.
Have you seen Le Grande Bouffe?
I haven't.
I hadn't seen it until we did it at the end of our first season last year, and I was kind of like, what the fuck, Cole? That's what this is about. But it's a bunch of French sort of statesmen, like bougie people who get together, and men who have this world-class chef who's making them these amazing meals, and you just get the sense that they do this like once a year or something, but it's really that they're all going to eat until they die.
They're eating themselves to death. It's the culinary version of Leaving Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think
isn't the Fellini guy in it? Is it Marcello?
Yeah, Marcello Mastroianni. He's great.
Yeah.
He's the impotent airline pilot. Mm-hmm. So let's get some more background on Mr. Hayden Maxwell here.
Oh, sure.
Because you have your podcast, which it runs in a similar vein to ours, and we're also pretty similar in number of episodes. I think you're up to 64 or something.
We're about to record our 70th.
Oh, 70th. Yay.
Yeah.
And I think we're somewhere around 45. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, I think that's right.
And we talk about crazy movies. You talk about crazy movies. But I think you're also a comedian.
Yes.
and so you do stand up.
Sure.
So
Would you say you're in the alt scene?
Yeah,
Would you
if
say
you
that?
had a gun to my
but
head.
now-
sure.
yeah,
So you wouldn't
yeah.
say that.
No, I guess I
specifically.
would.
But
would
alt's
say
a
that
dirty
I
word
have
now. I
said
don't
that.
think you could. Alt used to be so. You could. It was like a blanket term that you could use for stuff, and now you can't use it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. And I went to an alternative high school, and now
Well, I think once you're naming high schools after the concept, it's pretty dead.
Yeah. Well, and that was 30 years. But now it just means you're racist if you're alt.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I don't even think we're. Okay, in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the problem.
That's fair.
And
That's
they
fair.
do kind of have the alt-right does kind of have an alt sense of humor. They're the
Yeah.
depths of the internet and memes, and it seems like the worst kind of like Tim and Eric.
All right, so I'm curious what comedians inspire you.
Oh,
Hayden.
sure. The Steve Martins, the Andy Kaufmans.
Okay. Love Andy Kaufman.
Sure.
I love how there were so many people who just fell for his shtick, hook, line, and sinker. They didn't understand
Mhm.
what he was doing.
Yeah.
That to me is a sure sign of genius. All right, so Mike has brought along Tropical Bitch Belgian IPA from Flying Dog that we have featured many times on the Grande Bouffe. And this Belgian style IPA is brewed with tangerine and mango, so it's got a nice, refreshing, quaffable quality to it. Cheers, gentlemen. We'll
Cheers.
have a little cheersing.
Do you have the card? There's a guy at Whole Foods from Flying Dog who pointed this to me and offered to be on our podcast, which is very nice.
And
to have done.
they're a California beer company, am I right?
The guy today was telling me that they have a brewery in Maryland, and offered to give me a tour of it, which was very nice for just someone you just met in the Whole Foods.
Yeah.
But we got it. Cole
Okay.
dug up his card. David
Axelrod.
Cassie.
Cassie. Yes.
Thanks, David. Some good beer. Giving a shout out to Flying Dog.
It's a beautiful color, and
Yeah.
I love how the bubbles rise from the bottom of it.
Um,
And it's an 8.0, so we could be slurring our words pretty shortly.
that tends to happen to me. Yeah.
So cheers to Flying Dog and the
Cheers to Flying
Tropical
Dog.
Bitch.
Right.
And
we looked it up, and Florida is the tropics. So,
Florida is the tropics. Technically, I got really nervous. I
Mhm.
thought I was wrong there.
And
because they have a tropical climate.
yes.
Yeah, so tropical. It's got to do with the rainy season and stuff like that. There's a technical.
But from this
Backstory.
movie, it looks like heaven.
It does look like heaven.
So Hayden, tell us about how how it was that you chose this movie to bring on Le Grande Bouffe.
Well, I'd never seen it before, so I asked Mike if I should recommend a movie that I loved or pick a movie that I've always wanted to see, and I've always wanted to see this one because it's I've known it in passing as kind of a favorite amongst this group of Chicago critics that I read, from they used to all be part of the AV Club, and now they're kind of out. So I'd read a couple articles over the years, and it always intrigued me, and I used it as an excuse to finally see it.
Did you get exposed to it via cable or anything? Did you have any glimpses of this?
I've never.
movie?
No.
Okay, so the weirdest piece of trivia that I've pulled together about this movie is that my girlfriend's mom, this is her favorite movie.
Wow.
Which is, I haven't met this woman yet. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
Met
as we
somebody.
discuss the film, I think that our listeners will find that little factoid to be ever more intriguing and perhaps disturbing, because this movie, made by George Armitage, I think only made 7.
Yeah, he was
movies.
one of the Corman's guys in the 70s.
The Corman School.
Yeah. He made I think 4 exploitation movies in the 70s, and then he didn't work throughout the 80s, and then Jonathan Demme got him this movie. And then he made a
which he wrote this. He adapted. He wrote the script, which he adapted from the novel of the same title.
Right.
And he also, I want to mention that he later made Grosse Point Blank, which I think is probably his best well known and best film.
Mm-hmm. I'd say this is better than Grosse Point Blank, but yeah.
I would disagree with you wholeheartedly.
Okay.
So Hayden, you dug this movie a lot. Let's talk about.
Let's just talk about reactions because now it's clear that Hayden likes this movie, so I want to know what you like, Hayden.
Oh boy, I absolutely loved it. I watched it for the podcast, and then the next day I had it off, and I watched it again, which I
that's awesome.
never do. I never watch it, especially within a 14-hour period.
And so this wasn't for like extra research to get.
No, I found it completely compelling and funny, and the whole way through. I mean, I was doing laundry. I was putting.
So were you laughing? Were there parts where you were laughing out loud?
Yes, definitely.
So I'm curious. So what made you laugh out loud?
You can tell you're really making, put him on the defense here.
No, I'm just I want to find out. I'm curious.
I loved. The moment that I started really loving it the first time was Alec Baldwin coming up with haikus compulsively while raiding an apartment.
While cat burglarizing this old Florida retirement home kind of apartment.
Right. Yeah, that was so odd and charming that he was just really, really focusing on the rhyme pattern. Narrating all that he was doing while lifting the bed, finding a very big gun,
very large gun.
So this
gun you'll find in one state.
This film is considered a black comedy, which it fits that description because characters do die, and it's a neo-noir. But I find, for me personally, I felt like it failed on both of those points, and for
the neo-noir and black comedy.
I didn't feel that it paid off as a neo-noir or as a black comedy very well. And one of the main reasons is because you don't really have a protagonist. You've got this anti-hero in Fred, played by Alec Baldwin, who in
Junior.
Oh, right.
You're saying Fred Ward.
I think. What's his real name? You don't get it till the very end, right? So it's Junior, but it's.
Well, it's something Junior, but you actually do hear him say it in his improvised. This is the benefit of watching it twice, very close together. Is that when he's doing that kind of imaginary spending a lot of money. In the hotel room?
Is it the thing on the bed? He's kind of doing.
Yeah.
That to me is that's the best bit when he's doing the Tony Montana shtick.
But it's also kind of Taxi Driver-ish.
Yes, it's very Taxi Driver-ish.
He's got the cash in front of him, and he's doing the great Latino accent about buying a Porsche.
Right.
A Porsche.
I think it's Fingerling or something like that.
I think it's Fred Fingerling. I think that's
right. Okay.
So I think he's so Fred Ward is the actor who plays the cop. We should talk about what the plot of this movie is at some point. But
like I was saying, he does in his imaginary thing. He does say, "Mr. Fingerling, I don't think you can afford that." So there it is, right there in the first 20 minutes.
It's Frederick J. Fringer.
Junior.
Fringer Jr.
Okay.
Yeah. In Wikipedia, they say that his name is Fred, but of course that we're talking about Fred Ward, and that has nothing to do with his character.
His name is Junior.
Yeah.
his name is Junior through and through.
So we meet him. He's on a plane and he's staring out the window. And as soon as he lands, he's
doing something that's important. It looks like he's making a fake ID. Right, he has someone.
No, he's copying the signature,
and he does it. He does it upside down. His trick is that
he's good.
He looks at the signature upside down in order to make the forgery. And as soon as he gets off the plane, his first goal is to steal a piece of luggage, just any old piece of luggage.
Right. Well, we see later that his plan is that's his first point to sell whatever he finds in the luggage.
Right.
He's a man with a plan. He's been there.
He's not at all.
I know.
He's just.
You look back, but it's like a real mess because it's so his plan is going to steal luggage and then order a hooker Why? To sell her clothes. Right?
Yeah, he wants to sell her the clothes that he's just stolen. But we can't leave out what happens at the airport when he's going down the escalator.
Yeah, that's kind of the inciting incident.
Because we've got the Hare Krishna dude going up the other side. And if Alec Baldwin's character was more of a New Yorker, he'd know how to handle this guy just by giving him the I don't know you and I don't want to know you. But the guy falls into the bottom of the escalator and he breaks the guy's finger.
Mm-hmm.
So this part confused me.
Yeah.
Because so I want to make sure I get
Krishna.
I want to get all the points here of what happened in this scene. Okay, the Hare Krishna is asking him if he wants to hear about certain ancient Vedic texts, and Alec Baldwin's like, fuck off. And the guy keeps talking to him. So Alec Baldwin breaks his finger, and then he dies.
Well, we find that out later.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hare Krishna guy goes into shock. You can tell he goes into some seizure,
yes.
and which can happen, I suppose. If
you bend your finger all the way back,
it'll send you into shock, certainly.
Oof.
Okay,
and if you haven't eaten for a couple of days.
This murder though is the inciting incident. He gets the cops on him. We meet Fred Ward. This is sort of it's all kind of circling around.
Fred Ward and his dentures.
I just don't get how he killed this guy by breaking his finger. That's such a weird. And also, it's like welcome to the movie. I feel like you may not like this movie, Cole, because you might be like, what the fuck is that about? And I think, Hayden, you're like, I like it. I like this logic. I like this universe. Is that right or what?
No, it took me a little bit longer.
Okay.
It took me till the haiku stuff to really
I mean, to me,
the weird world.
The movie just it can never find its stride. It can never hit the right tone. And I think that what happened with the director is that he figured it out. I think this movie is a training movie that allowed him to make Grosse Pointe Blank 7 years later, because Grosse Pointe Blank, he gets the tone just right. That movie really does hold together as a black comedy. I wouldn't call Grosse Pointe Blank a neo-noir. It's a black comedy for sure.
Well, there's also the whole big chunk of the movie where he's pretending to be a cop, and it's a very Bad Lieutenant thing is going on.
Yeah, he's robbing the robbers as they're robbing, and and you certainly get the sense that in the early '80s, and we know it's true,
right,
that Miami was inundated with crime.
Well, so I feel like that's where the logline of the movie must have been.
What's the logline for the movie?
Well,
do you
I
remember?
feel like if you wanted to pitch it, it would be something the ultimate criminal who's is living the life you want to live, robs other robbers. This is not how log lines work, but it seems like the idea of his character is that he can do these horrible acts and we can be on his side a little bit because he's hurting the bad guys. But then he does so many other things to
all right, so let's get the tagline here because I've got it. Real badge, real gun, fake cop.
So that is a good selling point with some
of the movies about that
stolen valor kind of. I don't know if you call it that with a comp,
but this guy he's a con man or just an inveterate thief who has spent he's spent a lot of time in the pokey. He's done a lot of hard time, and he just lives this existential existence where anything goes, and he somehow gets Jason Leigh to come in, even though he really has to check her ID and doesn't believe that she's legal.
Because he's got a heart of gold, right? It is interesting that he's
got a heart of gold.
No, I know it's I know it's supposed to say it for her, but he's checking her ID, but then later, this is just a plot point I'm confused about. Doesn't he go back to the bellhop / pimp and say
Pedro
and say that she was too young, right? What's the?
He's lying.
He's lying. He's
also an inveterate liar.
You've seen it twice, so I'm going to you as
right. No, he's trying. I think he's not. I don't think he's checking her ID to make sure that he's not about to perform statutory rape. I think that he is constantly trying to read people and find their weaknesses and exploit them.
And he does. He reels her right in like a little
so
fish.
He's also a con artist, so it's kind of a con movie, except it doesn't go.
There's no big.
There's no big. There's no the sting.
He's
thing.
He's just a raging id.
Yeah.
He says it himself. He says the problem is I can have anything I want and I don't know what I want.
Right, there you go. There you go. Thank you for that, Hayden. That's you hit the nail on the head. He really is beautiful. And Alec Baldwin, he must have been about 22 when he made this movie. And his hairy chest, he likes to show it off a lot. And I think it's very funny when he inexplicably comes to dinner with the homicide cop that's investigating him,
Fred Ward.
Yes, right. Fred Ward, who likes to take his dentures out a lot, which I found disturbing and not funny. And he's sitting there at the dinner table with no shirt on.
Right. Well,
because he's proud of those pecs.
Looks great.
He's killing it. You know what I love about young Alec Baldwin is you can look at current Alec Baldwin and just cut out young Alec Baldwin from his figure, and he's right in there.
You could sculpt it as if from a piece of clay.
But yeah, I think we got to get to the other people. We got to get Jennifer Jason Leigh and Fred Ward to talk about what's going on there. But I do got to say, I don't know if I love this movie. In fact, I know I don't love this movie. I think I do love Alec Baldwin in this movie. He's got this look in his eye, this is kind of like his role of a lifetime. This is because he's always
it's the prettiest he ever looked. It's the best that he ever looked on.
He looks
Hunt
really
for the Red
good
October. He looks really good.
In Beetlejuice, I was gonna say with those glasses.
I think we all want to fuck out. He lives in Union Square. You guys, we should.
I've met him before.
You run into him?
Yeah.
I want him on the podcast.
Yeah, get
I
him.
don't think we could. Yeah, he's a radio guy.
Don't tell him that you don't like Miami Blues.
I love him in it.
Very proud of that movie.
Are you serious? Do you know that for a fact?
I think they talk about how they were proud of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love him in it.
Well,
I think the three of them give three amazing performances. Yeah. I was still figuring out if I liked it or not. I was like, well, Jennifer Jason Leigh and Alec Baldwin are.
All right. Well, all right. So the movie feels very 80s, and this is a sign of how decades don't really kick over until a few years into the next decade, because it's a 1990. It was made in 1990, and I can certainly say without any compunction that the soundtrack for this thing is so 80s, it drives me up the wall.
It's got the number one song from 1971.
It's not quite Fingernails on the Chalkboard, but it's pretty darn.
You don't
close.
like this music?
Oh my goodness, the soundtrack for this thing
Spirit in the Sky.
Yeah, it's a
City in the Sky.
It's Spirit in the Sky.
Right. City in the Sky is Staples Singers or something.
Yeah, the Staples Sisters, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I like that you're talking about the montages with the more guitar.
Oh, that electric guitar, that Steve Vai kind of guitar.
But I do feel like it is objectively not great music, but I do feel like it does put you in the mindset of Junior. He thinks that he is cruising and chilling, and I feel like this would be how he scored his movie.
You know what's
it would
really
be
weird?
like this awful.
It's
score.
really weird that Junior. It's almost it's so weird that Junior is not doing coke in this movie. That I think that he is just an anthropomorphization of cocaine in the 1980s.
Yeah, he really should be doing coke. It's
cocaine.
It's a missing plot or character trait.
I don't think he needs it. He just is
it. He just is that headspace.
Yeah.
Well, it gives Alec Baldwin his chance to do all of this little gape mouth, cute posing. There's a lot of posing that goes on, and we were talking about the scene where he's coming up with haiku.
Yes.
For his fiance, or is she his wife by that time?
They. You never see them.
There's no wedding.
There's no wedding. There's no proposal. You just hear them say it. To the point where I think that he might have just said it in the moment. Right, and that she just believes it.
But there. In all fairness, there is one hell of a little sex scene in it. Mm-hmm. And Jennifer Jason Leigh is she has no problem taking off her clothes, and she's spread eagled pretty good under Alec Baldwin in that scene. No question about it.
Keep going.
I mean, you don't see those. You're not going to see that in a Marvel movie. That's not going to show up in any superhero movie. Jennifer Jason Leigh's bare little tatas.
My God. I agree.
One of the greatest actresses.
Yeah,
I love Jennifer. And when Mike first told me this is the movie you wanted to do, I just took a little glance at it and I thought, oh no, this is going to be awful. But then I saw that
Right.
Jennifer
And then
Jason
you
Leigh
watched
was
it
in
and
it,
you were-
and I said, oh wow, I'm now interested in it. Yeah, and there's some other people. I mean, I think Fred Ward is interesting. I just wish I didn't know that he wears dentures because it makes me.
You're so put off by that.
Well,
I'm
that's
really
what
put off by
that's
it.
what he does to put off the people that he's trying to like grill. He does it to
It's a power
freak
move.
people out.
Yeah.
And that it worked on you. Like that's the whole point of
Yeah.
It worked, but it takes me out of the movie because then the whole time I'm thinking, oh my God, Fred Ward, this poor actor has dentures.
Uh-huh.
It's
So
just-
Cole's convinced that he actually has dentures. Where do you fall on this, Hayden?
I mean, they didn't take out his teeth for
So
the movie.
I guess Cole
That'd
just
be
thinks that he
insane.
actually just was really missing his teeth. Do you think that
No.
he doesn't have
well,
teeth?
Tony Erdman. Have you seen Tony Erdman? It was
Mhm.
No, it's
Yes.
Tony. I don't know Tony Erdman.
that was it was. Did it win the Academy the Oscar?
No, the salesman.
Oh, The Salesman, right? But it was Oscar nominated best
film of last year.
best foreign film, and that there's a character in that movie who takes his dentures out all the time, and
those aren't dentures. Those are like prop teeth. Those are like gag teeth.
well, in Tony Erdman, they're not.
They are. No. They're the whole point is that it's this guy who like has like these, like,
Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
No, he's really those are his real dentures.
Those aren't dentures. They're fake bad teeth. They're like ugly British teeth, and like he puts on an ugly wig. It's like it's supposed to be like very like.
But then he also
joke.
really takes out his dentures, and I know this because I was at the Cannes Film
Yeah.
Festival and I saw him do it at the press conference. He really took his teeth out of his mouth, just like Fred Ward does here. I never want to see anyone take their
You're
teeth
a
out.
teeth bigot. You're a denture snob.
So,
I just feel like
and I feel
I agree with Hayden. That's a power move. Okay, that
it's an interesting facet to the character.
that
that
and
comes from
inviting
the,
yourself to dinner, I think, is a very powerful,
Well, yeah, that's-
awkward thing to do.
That's a weird detective move. Like, yeah, these are the things that make this movie interesting, or these offbeat. I've never read this author, but
Yeah.
this all comes from.
This is a novel.
The author who's like a kind of an Elmore Leonard like a figure.
well, there's certainly some interesting casting in it. Nora Dunn has a supporting role. I personally felt like her performance was horrible and she's terribly miscast. But I did
Is
like
Nora done the other cop?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's yeah.
She really
Saturday Night Live alum.
Yeah, she really showed up in like the tail of the second act,
And
she's
there's
suddenly a character.
And there's
It's
this,
like, no,
and there are these weird brushstrokes at feminism, misogyny that goes on between Fred Ward and her character. Sure,
I don't think so. What do you mean?
When Fred Ward's characters, you know, he uses the word fuck, and then she's offended, and he has to apologize for it. There are these, these little, it's office politics kind of stuff that, between the sexes.
The power dynamic is that like he's like the laughing stock and she's like the only one working for him.
Yeah.
Like she's the one who's like doing like.
But she's gonna hold his feet. She's not gonna let him say anything inappropriate,
Does
which is his knee jerk thing to do.
Is it because, like, I remember the end scene is interesting where she's like, here's what you're going to say, okay? You're going to say that you saw him come out of there with a gun, you followed him to the house, he drew a gun on you, and you shot, and that, and then she showed up and had nothing to do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because it's like, that is what happened.
And it's also very O.J. Simpson. Oh, okay, so I'm going to plant the glove, and then...
It predates about like 4 years. But
yeah.
Like Furman, you're saying?
Well,
yeah.
Well, okay, so I don't want Jennifer Jason Leigh's performance to get like missed over.
I think
she's amazing.
She's
So
amazing,
who is
and
she,
I think she's
for whatever weird person hasn't seen this movie but is listening to this.
I think she's better than Alec Baldwin.
She's
I feel like I understand her character completely. Alec Baldwin's character, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think
he's
there's
a cipher. He's a Yago kind of,
Yeah, that it is. I get the same kind of pleasure rewatching this movie that I did from like rewatching There Will Be Blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same kind of question that I keep in mind watching it is like, does he really care about, like, in There Will Be Blood, I'm like, does he really care about the
Eli.
adopted son?
Yeah.
No, about the HW.
Is that HW, right? Eli's the
pastor.
Yeah.
And this, I'm like, does he? Because there's hints that he might be trying to con her.
Yeah.
Right. And I think he might in the moment.
But there's there's one scene where it's like what's his agenda besides just trying to make her happy? How do you read the scene with the vinegar pie?
Right. Yeah. No. And then he will lie. He will.
Well,
I mean,
eats
obviously
like
he'll
an
lie.
objectively shitty pie.
Right.
But like, what's he to gain from it besides her just thinking she made a nice pie for him?
Right. And then later, when she talks about how she likes him, she says this heartbreaking line, which was that I had to give him the benefit of the doubt because he had some good qualities. He always ate my food and he never hit me. And you realize, like, that's all it takes.
The bar is set
but
very
that's
low.
So raw and real. Like, like the author's aunt or mother said that to him or something. Like, that's such a real, like, brutal.
Right. And so she plays somebody
But
who
she's a sex worker who meets him at the hotel, like the second scene.
Right.
But I have to say,
we haven't really talked about who she is at all.
She's also pretty passive aggressive because as soon as she finds out from the detective played by Fred Ward in the grocery store that she gets the down low on all of Junior's true background, and then so her reaction is to go back and just blow up this gnarly vinegar pie to serve to him. So she's working the passive aggressive angle pretty hard on that.
Well, she's trying to see if he'll lie to her, because I mean she's someone who is so suggestible. Mm-hmm. She is like the perfect mark, but she's so sweet.
Right.
And she believes, and she's bought completely into the American dream. All she wants is the little house with the white picket fence, and
it's a lot like Little Shop of Horrors.
And one of the interesting negotiations that goes on between them, I don't know, the thing that their relationship hinges most on is a conversation that they have about children, because she really wants to have children, and he's not having any of it, and he paints the picture pretty clearly, and he says, could that work for you? And immediately she's good with it. Like, okay, she's willing to throw out her whole dream of the American dream in a second because he says that's not going to work for me, and this, we're not going to have kids, and then she goes with it.
Yeah, I'm conflicted about it. Like Hayden, you're honestly like, I feel on the fence about this movie, and you are like convincing me that there's like a lot more here than like
I think
first watch. And it's like, and the one thing is like, I kind of knew there's more there, but like I felt like this was ideas going on, and I could also feel the novel behind it sort of reaching out, which may have more like sinew to it than this, and this is like a weird mirror of it. But no, you haven't read it, but you still feel
I have not read it.
You still feel connected with this movie, and it like speaks to you in itself.
No, I think that's the things I appreciate it is from Armitage's like exploitation background, which he's a very like just get in, tell the story, get out. There's no editorializing.
Well, and he has fun with that in the casting. Shirley Stoller, who was in the Honeymoon Killers, plays the pawn shop proprietor who. Spoiler alert: if you maim it's a rule of screenwriting that if you maim a character, you have to kill that person because the audience can't empathize anymore after they've been maimed. Which famously George Lucas broke with The Empire Strikes
also Chinatown
Back.
Sure.
Jack Nicholson gets his nose cut off.
He gets it cut open. He doesn't. He's not maimed.
He's got the band. I always thought his nose was like.
No, Roman Polanski sticks the switchblade in his nose and then just pulls it, so it slits it.
That's not maiming.
That's not maiming. That's not maiming. Maiming means that you lose something.
Yeah. He loses his fingers.
So that's what happens is he gets his fingers get macheted like clean off. It's very intense and awesome.
But just like any good movie hero, it's no big deal. I got him in my pocket. I'm good. And he doesn't. It's kind of an afterthought.
I feel like it's a big deal to him. He's screaming, "Jesus Christ, Jesus
He
Christ!"
shoots her like.
But he's still gonna steal a ring on the way out the door.
That's how sweet.
I mean,
is
if you
that?
chop
Let's
my
talk about
fingers
that.
off,
He's a
let me
great
tell you,
guy.
I'm not worried about stealing a diamond ring on the way out the door. I'm going straight to the hospital with my fingers on ice.
I don't read it as cool. I read it as like he's just like a mad, like foaming dog who like will still like act on his instinct and steal whatever he can, which is not that much because he's carrying a gun and his fingers, so he can just.
He's got something else too. What else
he
is he
steal?
carrying?
So he.
Oh, the coin collection.
Right, the coins.
He still holds on to.
Yeah, and she's like, these are not very rare. So he steals a diamond ring on the way out, and there's rapping on her door, and to kind of be like, oh, I didn't just kill a bunch of people and get my fingers cut off. I went in there and I bought you a wedding ring. I bought you an engagement ring, right? So I guess he thinks that's how he's going to play it off. He's going to, like, somehow come up with an excuse for why his fingers got cut off in there.
No. I don't think so. I think that he just thinks that she'll do anything he says, and that he's about to bribe her with just I didn't make the connection of wedding, but I think
you're just like a shiny thing.
It's like a shiny thing. Look, because it's not it looks like
I thought it was
almost
totally
like
an
an athlete.
ring.
I thought it kind of looked like it almost like a championship.
You've
like
seen it
ruby.
twice. I'll take your.
He's like he just knocks on the window with the ring and he goes like it like just kind of does a smile, and she drives away. I think that there's every moment of these characters are so well calibrated. I love when she talks about the white picket fence, like the most cliched American dream stuff, that he just immediately laughs at her to her face.
But the pacing is so off. I just felt like, halfway through the movie, I just felt like, my God, there's no suspense. This thing is just dragging. Where's the pace? Where's the editing? And they keep coming back to the Hare Krishna guy dying. And I never had any vested interest in either one of these characters. So I don't, that's the inciting incident. And
which characters?
The
Junior,
Junior and the Hare Krishna guy.
Oh, the Hare Krishna. Oh,
that sets the whole thing.
Was I supposed to like kind of like be laughing at Hare Krishnas because it's 1990?
That's my one complaint of the movie.
Right, and right. You're supposed to be like, oh, those fucking guys at the airport.
The scene with the Fred Ward investigating the Hare Krishna, and it's just like, oh, I'm sorry, Ravi, and it like that was like a weird like laugh beat that I don't love.
But it's almost the joke is almost like that he knows him and he's run into him on other cases and he like feels.
So
I just think the joke is that they look weird and they.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I think it's just straight up racist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're also white people.
Yeah. It's somethingness.
All right,
right?
so if we were gonna put this into subcategories, we could say it's a neo-noir set in Florida, because most neo-noirs have in L.A. And this one is in Florida. So I was just glancing around and looking at what other neo-noirs were made in Florida. And Bob Raffleson's Blood and Wine with Stephen Dorff and Jack Nicholson is another one. And I would
sounds amazing.
And I would say and I've seen Blood and Wine. I reviewed it when it came out in 96. It's a much better movie than this one.
Ouch. Harsh.
Right. Well, Bob Raffleson, 5 Easy Pieces and Head and yeah, I really like the Florida setting. It's totally not Michael Mann, like with the dark neon. It's almost like if you picture this movie, it's completely like during the daytime.
And it's also not Miami Vice.
Yeah, it's more throwaway, and yet it's more gritty. The locations that they use, especially for the pawn shop, for example, are very urban, gritty. This is not a neighborhood you want to go to.
Well, also what kind of you don't see is like that kind of like condominium building that she lives in. Like this is very basic, boring ass, crappy furniture.
But I do like Jennifer Jason Leigh's character when she's talking about what she wants to do. He's querying her about what kind of life she's like. Okay, so what are you gonna do? And she's talking about how she wanted to be a synchronized swimmer, but that takes too much time and too much training. And I mean, it's such an effective little moment because you really completely buy her character and what she's saying.
Yeah.
You know, you get this local Floridian young female perspective on what she views her career options to be.
She's also like really what her thing is. She works at the burger or something.
She wants to own.
World?
Well, she wants to buy the franchise. That's her dream.
And
she gave up Burger World to be a prostitute.
Right,
the classic American dream, like buying a franchise. Buying a franchise of a bigger.
And then she talks about it kind of gleefully about how you hire young people who you don't have to pay anything to.
Well, she's really thought about it.
Yeah, she has, and
because they'll try to steal your stuff, and you got to keep an eye on.
You got it. Yeah, exactly. And those are that to me that that's a moment in the movie that really rings true. And I woke up for that one because you're getting this real 1990 American economic reality check.
But she's also just like repeating what somebody told her.
Of course.
Right. Because she's such like a perfect just like
vessel.
Yeah, she'll just bounce back whatever she's given.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he just shoots that. The differences between her and him, he just shoots that down immediately.
Yeah, can we just skip to the happily ever after? He says.
Right.
Yeah. Why? Yeah, you got to get $50,000 and then you got to wait.
Right.
And then
I don't see the purpose of hanging around a Burger World, no matter how rich it'll get me.
That's right.
Right.
So there's
he needs the.
That may be the best scene in the movie. I like that. I like that scene a lot.
There's something about his vibe that carries through to almost the editing of the movie, where he wants to just cut to the chase and has seen enough movies and knows enough tropes to call her bullshit. And if you really want to defend this movie, I feel like it's it may be along the lines of this movie is made by him in a certain way, and he's
right. Well, that's what I was saying about the music.
Skipping.
Right.
He wants to he knows what this movie's supposed to be. He's supposed to be a con guy and falls for a
say,
girl who's got
you could
a
say
gold,
that this movie is an 80s version of Godard's Breathless.
Okay.
Yeah.
Except there is an 80s version of Breathless.
Well,
right?
in that case, 90s.
Right,
Sorry,
right.
90s, because it was made in 1990. Because I mean, it's certainly if you were gonna defend the movie from his character, he's on a very similar track as the character in Breathless.
But it's weird because you watch Breathless and for some reason you kind of you have to think about it to oh, this guy is a criminal piece of shit. You get caught up in the sexiness of it. It's Alec Baldwin is fascinating and
sexy
and interesting and sexy,
and his haircut is amazing.
And his haircut is fucking insane and amazing.
It is,
and there's no question that he's a fucking horrible piece of shit. For somehow I can't be.
But I still I get no satisfaction out of watching his demise.
That's true.
It doesn't make me feel. I get no catharsis. I got no catharsis from this movie.
Do you think that's because of who kills him? Because, I mean, Fred Ward's a very interesting character, but his victory rings as confusing to me as the sort of,
I agree.
Adventures of Alec Baldwin. I don't know, how do you feel about, the fact that this guy brought that guy down?
I feel like Junior is just on a death wish. It doesn't matter who brought him down. Mm-hmm. He was just gonna keep doing this until he got brought down.
He's got a Tony Montana thing,
right? Yeah. I really don't feel like maybe I had just seen Scarface recently, actually, for the first time.
Was it the Palma retrospective?
Oh no, I just saw it on TV.
You just saw it,
okay. But I don't know if he has a death wish quite as much as Junior.
Yeah, I don't think he has a death wish, and here's why. Because when he steals
Junior, you're talking about?
Junior. Okay. When he steals the television from the the looters have broken the window on this storefront, and Junior decides to take not only the small little portable television but the popcorn maker. That's hilarious to me. I found comedy in that because okay, you got to have that popcorn maker. The thing's
He'll take anything.
It's probably $20, you know. No. And are you gonna make popcorn tonight? It made me pause the movie, and I went and made popcorn. So it really did. I think I have a great little popcorn maker.
What kind of popcorn maker do you have, Cole?
Where did you steal it from?
It's the right. It's the simplest little thing. It says popcorn in that famous popcorn logo on it. It's like a little tea kettle thing, and it has
stovetop, or is it a plug-in thing?
It's microwave.
Oh, you put it in the microwave.
It's ingenious because it has this little piece of rubber that sits over it, and that's what enables. It has all these holes in it, and you measure the amount of popcorn that you're going to put in it.
So you get like stovetop popcorn, put it in your microwave.
No. You just buy the cheapest popcorn that you can possibly find. The 39-cent bag
in a bag,
1 pound bag.
You put the bag in there.
Yeah, but you measure it, so it's really only about maybe 2 tablespoons of popcorn.
Right.
You dump that in, and then you put a pat of butter in the thing on top. You stick that in the microwave. About 2 minutes and 50 seconds later, you got perfect butter
I'm a
drip.
pure stovetop guy. I buy the bag. I get a big pot.
Does it burn ever?
Not with me, man. I'm a pro.
All right, we're gonna have to have a Grande Bouffe popcorn making session.
You're going down.
You and I are gonna go head to head, making some popcorn.
My
we've
roommate
never eaten anything during the show, but I think perhaps we're gonna have to change
because that makes for very bad radio.
Very bad.
Yeah. No,
we
won't be chewing at the microphone, as it were.
Well, let's wrap up. What are really memorable moments? What are like some of these like specific character things or actions that
when Jennifer Jason Leigh took her top off, I was just shocked. I was shocked. I couldn't believe my eyes. It's just there is some sexploitation. It's there.
I thought it was very sweet, that sex scene.
I did too.
Because but this is what I was saying before about like reading his motive. Right, because the first time I watched that sex scene, he goes, turn around. And there's this you're like not sure if he's going to attack her or anything. And he starts touching her and says, I haven't been with a woman in a very long time. And she just melts immediately. And
yeah, it's just what she wanted to hear. It is.
No, well, yeah, it's just like she's special and he and I feel like she gets to the core of him, and she makes him a real softie. I feel like him saying,
I felt like he's just the con man, and he because he stands there for a minute. She turns her butt over with the panties, and he's looking, and I think you can see the gears turning. He decides how he's going to play.
No, but he is just out of prison. He really hasn't been with a woman in a long time,
right? And
I feel like that is the real him right there, just like actually melting and like taking pleasure in kissing and their connection is real. I feel like he's being genuine when he says that he wants to go out, do work, which in his case is just rob people blind, and then come home to a nice meal. Like he wants this like Ozzie and Harriet life.
Yeah, he spells it out pretty clearly that's what he wants.
Right, and I think he wants it with her.
Yeah, and I agree.
It's very sweet in a very fucked up way. It's all these characters are tropes with the odd detective and the psychopath and the hooker with a heart of gold, but they're done in such a unique way. The fact that the detective is introduced asking to borrow money from his informant. is such a funny introduction.
Oh, and Blink.
Right.
The blind black guy who wears the dark glasses that have the little things on the sides, but he's not really blind.
Mm-hmm.
That's I kind of enjoyed that scene where Blink was hanging out when Junior shot the guy in the leg. I did enjoy that scene.
Yeah, I think that I think Junior doesn't know what he wants, except for that he likes her, Pepper, right? What?
Pepper?
Not Pepper.
Well, that was her
That's
fake
her fake name.
Her fake name.
Which they laugh over. And I was gonna say about how they shoot the movie, about how it's shot with this like sunny locale that it looks like, and the song that opens and closes the movie, "The Spirit in the Sky," which is all about going up to heaven, and you start up in the sky and in the airplane. So I feel like it's him visiting, like he's in heaven and he's causing trouble.
Or he's almost like an evil, like a dark angel who comes
Right.
and fucks with the world for a while.
So Hayden,
Yeah.
I'm curious. Do you have a favorite neo noir? Is there a favorite neo noir that you would name?
I guess if neo noir.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you'd have to go with Chinatown if it's that. I'm a really big fan of Sweet Smell of Success. I don't know if you'd count that as a noir at all, even.
No, it's a great movie though. It's definitely a very dark drama. I think it's a social satire. The Sweet Smell of Success social satire.
I don't get caught up in genres or like trying to define what.
You're a big genre guy, Cole. Like that.
Yeah.
That means a lot to you to split it into these things.
Well, because
do you have a neo-noir
because I think that's the one of the big problems with this movie is that it's too fuzzy. It needs to be clearer. It needs to be more defined, and it's and that's
look at it's like.
And that's why I sat there for a lot of the movie just feeling bored.
Do you feel like that's just a subjectivity to there where you're a genre guy and you're confused by it and you're not as much and you just
I'm not confused. I feel like there's something missing.
It's not hitting these like necessarily these tropes or going down these avenues that make sense.
I feel like I'm watching somebody play a musical instrument that's not quite tuned.
Mm.
Yeah, some things that have come to mind is thinking of the Death Wish. Those were the movies with
Charles Bronson.
Charles Bronson, and so that's the 80s and this like
all set on the Upper West Side.
Right, and so that's kind of like Reagan's America of there's this thing of like you can kill people in movies if they're bad guys. Right. And like I feel like this is a play on that in a way where it's like, well, what if a bad guy is the guy who's killing bad guys?
Right.
And then you just keep running with it. And
there's that great line with where he's describing his criminal past to her, where she goes,
"You're
like Robin."
Like a Robin Hood.
He's like, "Yeah, well, except I didn't give it back to poor people."
Yeah, exactly.
No, I thought there was always more and more interesting dynamics at play. Like a one scene you'll watch Alec Baldwin try to take somebody down with pasta sauce. with a jar of pasta sauce. He is holding it like a football and trying to take down a
I know I wanted the payoff to be better. I really wanted him to clock the guy in the head with that jar of pasta sauce. That would be very cinematic moment right there.
Right. But that's just an insane thing to do. And he just doesn't he doesn't think about things. He just goes for he's on that power high of pretending to be a cop, and he thinks he can do anything.
If I can recommend a movie, I believe it's called A Man in Uniform. It's a Canadian movie from the mid '80s, I think.
Is it a neo noir?
I don't know. Sure. It's a movie where a guy is like he said.
What's it called?
I believe it's called A Man in Uniform. And he's like an extra, and he's kind of a stiff sort of like spectrum-y guy who doesn't really, fits in socially, and he
like Ben Affleck's The Accountant.
Like Ben Affleck's The Accountant. Yeah.
Matt Damon's The Cashier.
So he just wears his cop uniform from being an extra offset one day and just starts being a cop and doing like extremely fucked up shit. And I saw it at Spectacle, which is do you know the Spectacle Theater? Spectacle Theater, it's in Brooklyn, and they show exclusively like the weirdest fucking shit that you can never see anywhere else. And it's usually like obviously like a DivX rip from like 2004.
It's a similar time frame. It's made in 1993.
Oh, 93. I thought it was even earlier.
David Wellington. See, and it's set in in so the Canadian link is true.
Hits that's an interesting movie because it hits the same trope of pretending to be a cop, which is a recurring thing. Actually, I was looking up trying to remember this movie, that Man in Uniform, and it came up on TV tropes. This concept of pretending to be a cop. So this movie.
Remember Louis?
Yeah.
Louis an extra in that Matthew Broderick remake of The Godfather, and then he
Wait, what are you talking about?
In the television show Louis.
Okay.
Louis C.K. plays a cop in a Godfather remake that Matthew Broderick is writing, directing, and starring in.
No, I haven't
haven't
seen
seen
that
this
one.
season.
I know. I want to see
That's the
it.
first season. It's the first.
That's the
season.
first season.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's nuts. Yeah, it's like that. Does he take the cop uniform home though? What's
Well, he
do?
just accidentally is like on his break and goes to a convenience store.
Well,
and
just
gets
think about it.
robbed
So
before.
he's so Alec Baldwin's doing the same thing, but he's dressed as a Miami Vice cop. You know, it's like it's the only
Right.
Florida's the only place where you mistake someone wearing a white blazer for a police officer, and that's a movie in itself. But he's also a con man. It's also like the hooker with a heart of gold. It's also the Jack Webb, who's gonna like get his man no matter what. You know, it's like it's got all of these things, and I don't know. I would put it to our audience to decide whether the mashup is like makes sense.
Well, I have to say there is a connection to this film to my favorite neo-noir, which is The Grifters.
Okay.
In that
John Cusack. Right?
That's right. In that John Cusack appeared in Grosse Point Blank, which isn't as good as The Grifters. Stephen Frears directed The Grifters.
Right.
And I think it's Angelica Houston's best role. And
there's also a con movie.
And it's also a con movie.
I think my favorite neo-noir is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So that's where my sensibilities lie.
Yeah.
Do you have any...
Do I have any closing things to wrap it up? I thought pitching it to the audience was a good.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Well, I wanted to bring up a point.
Please.
Because
there's no time limit here. We don't give a shit.
Sure. You guys describe yourselves as connecting beer and film and politics, right?
Sure.
Something like
we'll
that.
go with that.
Right?
Yeah, sounds good. I like it.
Well, Alec Baldwin, of course, now is most famous. Is probably most famous right now in our culture for the Donald Trump impression he does.
Absolutely.
On Saturday Night Live.
It's so disgusting what he does with his mouth. It's horrifying.
Right. And like,
hilarious.
Jennifer Jason Leigh, she's somebody who like she's a total chameleon, right? Like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, this movie, Mrs. Parker. And
I was just gonna say, which I just saw about a month ago. Yeah.
The Hateful Eight, where she plays like a villain.
Oh, she's so great in The Hateful Eight.
She can do anything.
Yeah.
But Alec Baldwin's a guy who like really only does one thing, which is like just like powerful men, except for Beetlejuice. But he does this like powerful men thing who can lie and can come up with anything and can convince you of anything. And I feel like the seeds of Donald Trump are in Junior.
Absolutely.
Because the whole thing of Donald Trump's impression, the Donald Trump impression, is that he's somebody who is lying to you and is trying to come up with stuff, but is like bad at it
and doesn't know what he wants.
Right.
He has everything, but he doesn't know what he wants.
But it's his charm that has nothing to kind of do with it.
It's like anti-charm. When the like it's like he should be a regular Alec Baldwin, like Jack Donaghy kind of figure, right? That is like charming and comes up with the perfect retort. But like with his Donald Trump impression, he's like always trying to come up with the next word.
I'll draw the line. Like I'll take almost Alec Baldwin out of it, just from Junior to Donald Trump.
Sure.
Is that like this is someone who is like borderline telling you what they're gonna do. You know, there's something very like about Junior of like he can shoot a guy in Fifth Avenue, and you'll still you'll stay with him.
Yeah.
You know, we're all the Jennifer Jason Leighs of Donald Trump, and is that like, well, you know, I mean, like,
are we? I don't feel that
I don't
way.
know. You know,
but America
but you,
is,
you
right?
sure,
But
like,
you,
sure,
America
but you've also made
half of it.
made me think about
we're the Fred Gwynns,
one of the
guys.
things that I
Fred,
have
sorry,
that I have
Fred
a
Gwynn.
problem with
Fred.
in this movie is the way the violence is handled when Junior kills somebody. It's so removed. You don't have any sense of what happened, why it happened, any motivation. It's so offhand. Oh, it's another plot point, and then it's gone. It flies by so
doesn't
fast.
The absurdity of killing a Hare Krishna by breaking his finger sort of like open this universe to like, yeah, dude, like death in this world means shit. Like it's like, dude, I'm on board. I think you.
Well, that's how it was in Miami at the time. If you've seen any of these documentaries about the cocaine wars that were going on in Miami, and you can see it in this movie when they go to the television news story,
Right.
and the announcer's almost gleeful in the way that
Right.
she's reporting that someone got killed.
Mhm.
It's there's this vampire element to it.
You do see like drug dealing. You do see drugs, but he just robs from them. He's almost like
The classic port kind of
Yeah.
crime scene.
Yeah, he's almost like a stand-in for like the DEA, like this fucked up like white entity that is like involved in that, but is not actually like I'm trying to like figure out if there is like a metaphorical presence for what Junior
Well, I
is.
think again, that's what I like about it is that it doesn't try to hold your hand and go
Yep.
for it. I feel like it's just down and dirty in that Roger Corman style. One more thing that I noticed from watching.
10 more things. I'm down. Whatever.
I think the best piece of acting for Alec Baldwin in this movie is that weird look on his face. And I'm sorry that I keep shaking your
They
table,
know we're
Cole.
drinking beer.
And
It's fine. They know we're drinking.
That weird dazed look he gets when he looks out at the beach, and this is where
Yeah.
it kind of looks like heaven, and the people are throwing what's it called, frisbees at
Yeah.
each other.
Oh, which
And
comes back.
Which is a motif, right? I didn't notice it the first time I saw it, but then it became like a thing where the montage of they're in love has them just like
Oh.
throwing frisbees because that's what he just saw. That's literally what he just saw.
That's so yeah.
And then she has that hole in her, right? And so what is she like? She tries to fill it by throwing a frisbee again at Fred Ward,
Right.
and that nothing really happens. It's like
So I think it's like
I think there's a lot of smart things that rewards repeat viewing.
and they're dressed up as kind of like dumb things perhaps because I mean that's a perfect like sort of concept to portray like what like consumerism is. It's being very easily sold on something and about how like a good life and what you want can be given in like these simple these tokens and these symbols and like the gullibleness of Jason Leigh's character. And then I think you're pointing out too is like Junior's not even that far ahead, like Junior is stealing like TVs and popcorn machines because it's like that's like the a thing that would be desirable.
It's the American dream.
but-
It's these two competing versions of the American
Sure.
dream.
The cutthroat.
That's
and then
true. That's true. She's
Right.
the white picket fencer, which is a term in psychoanalysis.
And so they're trying to fill this void, this commercially induced void, politically corporate commercially induced void.
Dude, this movie's
that we
fucking
all-
awesome.
that
I
we
love
all
this
suffer
movie.
from.
It is amazing.
It bored the hell out of me. Maybe you'll get more out of it than I did.
Yeah, I found it incredibly entertaining. It's an hour and a half. You're in and you're out.
It is. It
It's
is a quick.
I felt like I was in, and then I was still there.
But you guys, like, someday I'm probably gonna meet my girlfriend's mom. Like, I'm
I
sure
think she's got
I'm
great
sure I'll meet
taste.
her. And
I think-
how interesting that this is her favorite movie.
It does feel like a movie that if you watch TV around the early 90s, it was probably on all
Well,
the
it
time.
My
is-
girlfriend told me it
I
was on
find it-
TNT.
I find
very
it. I
frequently.
find it telling that
Yeah.
it's a woman whose favorite movie this is.
That's very weird to continue.
Well,
What-
y-
what
well,
do you-
yeah, because I can only imagine that from a woman's perspective that you would identify with Jennifer Jason Leigh, and so you would have an easier time
Mhm.
defining her as the clear protagonist in this movie. But for me, I didn't buy Junior as an anti-hero at all, and I felt like Jennifer Jason Leigh's character was too marginalized to be a true heroine.
I'm legitimately just really interested in like of anti-heroes that are in movies or TV. What allows like a Walter White, say, to be like more of an anti-hero than him? I mean, that's almost too completely different.
Yeah, I wouldn't
but-
go
yeah.
television.
Well, it's not the television thing, but that like he's ostensibly a good guy becomes a bad guy. Of a bad guy in a movie, like say I don't know, like John,
Bad
John
Lieutenant.
Wick,
Bad
Bad
Lieutenant.
Lieutenant. Why?
First of all, wait. John Wick is a great guy. They shouldn't have killed his dog. that
He's
is
a great
the
guy.
mistake that
He's
they
a
made.
hitman with a heart of platinum.
I think
Yeah.
Bad Lieutenant is a better example
Bad Lieutenant
because
I think is
because
a better
because
example.
Harvey Keitel
Sure.
doesn't do a goddamn bit of good ever. That's the.
Does he save a cat even?
No, he doesn't.
There's no.
He doesn't do
Abel
anything.
Ferrara just never got around to the cat scene.
He doesn't even pick his boogers. He's for cleanliness. He just does it for grotesqueness.
But why are you into? Is it because it's a better performance? Maybe.
Well, the performance is tremendous. That scene where he goes into the church naked is, oh my God, I've never seen anything like it.
But,
when I saw that at the cinema, I was
I've only
blown
seen
away.
Bad Lieutenant once, but I remember I like it. I liked it a lot, but I remember feeling it was a little bit too heavy. I mean, maybe as a Jew, the Catholicism never really connects with me ever. Like that's a really big thing for a lot of certain American filmmakers just return to the Catholicism over and over and over again.
Yeah, well, certainly I don't think it's working out for Scorsese.
Right.
I mean, it might have been interesting, a little bit interesting 30 years ago, but if you saw Silence, I get it. You can't make up your mind, but I don't care anymore.
Right. Yeah, the audience I saw Silence with, which was like opening weekend, and I counted like maybe 10 walkouts.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was walking home.
It's so boring.
With a friend, and there was these guys who were like, there's this like 50, 60 something married couple that was like, you just saw Silence, right? They're like, that was terrible,
nice.
Right? That was like Casino. I'd watch it over and over and over again. This I'll never see again.
That's right.
That's right. It did not connect. It was like a really audience unfriendly movie.
Well, I thought
that the
casting, the casting of the
should have been reversed.
Yeah, should have been reversed.
Yeah,
it would have been 100% better.
Andrew Garfield is not a very compelling presence
at all. If you,
at least we found something we agree with.
I would. Yeah, I would. If that movie had reversed the casting, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
Adam Driver is fantastic.
He's great in Patterson. I loved him in Patterson. He's amazing.
He is like they could make Bad Lieutenant Port of Call Miami
with Adam Driver.
With Adam Driver, he would.
The skinniest
Wait a minute,
Bad Lieutenant.
Mike, hush! You're giving secrets away. Come on, this is our thing. Come on.
Okay, all right. We'll produce this ourselves. Okay, we'll split it 3 ways.
Oh
okay.
wow!
All right,
all right. So
split.
3-way split. Okay. I get all the points in the back end. Fuck you guys.
All right,
okay,
so
3-way split. It's all good.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything about points.
All right, so we're all gonna hold hands now with our listeners, and thank you all for putting up with us and hopefully enjoying what we have to say. And also,
you have to say that at the end of every episode.
And also, maybe we've inspired you to watch this movie, because I will say that after having this conversation, that I find that there are more little nooks and crannies in this movie that you might find intriguing.
I think we're always looking for that. I think we're always being like, here's a movie that is pretty well known, but also the corners of it that haven't been explored. Here's a movie that's known to be shitty, but guess what? There might be things.
And I don't think this is known to be shitty. It feels like
it's mostly not known.
And
like,
Alec,
to be honest, it's not known.
There's a small cult audience.
And if you look in the Oxford Dictionary for eyes like limpid pools, it just says Alec Baldwin.
Right.
Thank you all. Please share and tell your friends about La Grande Bouffe, the big feast. And special thanks to our co-host this week, Mr. Hayden Maxwell. Hey, Hayden, I'm going to give you a softball. You ready?
Yes.
All right. No. Well, close. You're close. We want to hear a joke.
Oh. Okay.
You got one?
Sure.
Okay.
We were telling jokes earlier. This isn't just like, hey, you're a comedian, say something funny kind of thing.
No, while we were waiting, Mike and I tried out our
Should we do our jokes?
Our jokes of the moment.
Jokes?
Well, we got to let Hayden, come on. We'll give it to Hayden.
Okay, well, because politics podcasts ostensibly. Repeal and replace my wife, please.
All right, Hayden Maxwell. Only the best for Hayden Maxwell, available on iTunes, and is it everywhere else?
SoundCloud.com/Hayden Maxwell.
Yeah, so check out the.
When does this come out?
I think tomorrow.
Mañana.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So subscribe.
You'll still be around tomorrow.
I'll still be around tomorrow.
Okay, great.
All right. So you're on your podcast is on SoundCloud. What's the name of it again?
SoundCloud.com/Hayden Maxwell. It's only the best for Hayden Maxwell. On Monday, we'll drop a new episode. We watch Paisan with a Daily Show writer.
You got Martin Scorsese looking over your shoulder already.
Yeah.
He loves that movie.
I know. Yeah. Well, just listen to it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So, whether you're walking or riding a bicycle. Just don't drink and drive, and don't use your cell phones when you're doing that shit either, especially when you're watching a movie. Thanks.
Thank you.